Ya, ini kita UKI, berdiri sejak lebih dari 50 tahun lalu untuk menciptakan generasi penerus bangsa, generasi yang mempunyai visi dan mampu bersaing di era perkembangan teknologi yang semakin pesat. Menghasilkan generasi tersebut, kami membagi bidang pendidikan menjadi beberapa jurusan. Program studi doktor hukum, program studi doktor pendidikan agama Kristen, dan program magister dengan pilihan program studi magister pendidikan, program studi magister hukum, program studi magister pendidikan agama Kristen, program studi magister manajemen, program studi magister teknik elektro, program studi magister arsitektur, sedangkan untuk program sarjana, kami memberikan pilihan-pilihan untuk generasi yang ingin menjadi tenaga pengajar, seperti Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, program studi bimbingan konseling, program studi pendidikan matematika, program studi pendidikan biologi, program studi pendidikan agama Kristen, program studi pendidikan fisika, program studi pendidikan kimia, Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa, program studi sastra Inggris, program studi pendidikan bahasa Inggris, program studi pendidikan bahasa Mandarin, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, program studi manajemen, program studi akuntansi. Dengan Fakultas Hukum, mengembangkan generasi yang akan menuntun Indonesia dalam keadilan dengan jurusan program studi hukum, kesehatan masyarakat Indonesia adalah hal yang utama. Kami dengan jurusan Fakultas Kedokteran selalu mengembangkan ilmu kedokteran melalui program studi pendidikan kedokteran. Fakultas Teknik, program studi teknik mesin, program studi teknik elektro, program studi teknik sipil, program studi arsitektur, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, program studi hubungan internasional, program studi ilmu komunikasi, program studi ilmu politik, kami mempersiapkan tenaga yang ahli dan siap terjun untuk masyarakat Indonesia. Dengan program diploma Fakultas Vokasi, program studi fisioterapi, program studi perbankan dan keuangan, program studi keperawatan, program studi manajemen pajak,
Kami menyadari bahwa metode pembelajaran berbasis teknologi menjadi suatu hal yang harus dikembangkan, khususnya di Universitas Kristen Indonesia. Dengan dukungan teknologi tinggi, UKI mempersiapkan diri menjadi universitas berskala internasional yang bermutu, mandiri, dan inovatif di bidang tridharma perguruan tinggi. UKI menerapkan paradigma pendidikan Merdeka Belajar, Kampus Merdeka, yang sesuai dengan karakter masyarakat Indonesia. Kami siap melayani mahasiswa menjadi generasi yang unggul, yang memiliki nilai-nilai rendah hati, berbagi peduli, disiplin, profesional, bertanggung jawab, dan berintegritas.
Cara pakai background kayak mana, Cok?
Kami selalu ada untuk kemajuan generasi bangsa Indonesia dengan menerapkan pendidikan berstandar internasional di era digital. Karena kami datang untuk melayani.
Dengan mengucapkan puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan yang Maha Kuasa, dengan ini saya meresmikan Fakultas Sastra menjadi Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa Universitas Kristen Indonesia. Kiranya Tuhan memberkati kita semua. Viva UGI! UGI hebat! UGI hebat!
大家好，自我介绍一下，我的名字是林丽琴，是2019年武帝大学中文系的毕业生，现在在汤格朗武迪学校当一名中文老师。在这里呢，我想推荐大家到我们的武帝大学上学。为什么呢？因为我们的武帝大学有中文系，我们的老师有本地的，也有专门从中国来的，他们会教你们写汉字、认读、书法、武术、文化等等。还有机会去中国留学哦。回来之后还可以当老师，还可以当导游，还可以当翻译。所以呢，还等什么？快点报名吧！
Ya, ini kita UKI, berdiri sejak lebih dari 50 tahun lalu untuk menciptakan generasi penerus bangsa, generasi yang mempunyai visi dan mampu bersaing di era perkembangan teknologi yang semakin pesat. Menghasilkan generasi tersebut, kami membagi bidang pendidikan menjadi beberapa jurusan. Program studi doktor hukum, program studi doktor pendidikan agama Kristen, dan program magister dengan pilihan program studi magister pendidikan, program studi magister hukum, program studi magister pendidikan agama Kristen, program studi magister manajemen, program studi magister teknik elektro, program studi magister arsitektur, sedangkan untuk program sarjana, kami memberikan pilihan-pilihan untuk generasi yang ingin menjadi tenaga pengajar, seperti Fakultas Keguruan dan Ilmu Pendidikan, program studi bimbingan konseling, program studi pendidikan matematika, program studi pendidikan biologi, program studi pendidikan agama Kristen, program studi pendidikan fisika, program studi pendidikan kimia, Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa, program studi sastra Inggris, program studi pendidikan bahasa Inggris, program studi pendidikan bahasa Mandarin, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, program studi manajemen, program studi akuntansi. Dengan Fakultas Hukum, mengembangkan generasi yang akan menuntun Indonesia dalam keadilan dengan jurusan program studi hukum. Kesehatan masyarakat Indonesia adalah hal yang utama. Kami dengan jurusan Fakultas Kedokteran selalu mengembangkan ilmu kedokteran melalui program studi pendidikan kedokteran. Fakultas Teknik, program studi teknik mesin, program studi teknik elektro, program studi teknik sipil, program studi arsitektur, Fakultas Ilmu Sosial dan Ilmu Politik, program studi hubungan internasional, program studi ilmu komunikasi, program studi ilmu politik, kami mempersiapkan tenaga yang ahli dan siap terjun untuk masyarakat Indonesia. Dengan program diploma Fakultas Vokasi, program studi fisioterapi, program studi perbankan dan keuangan, program studi keperawatan, program studi manajemen pajak,
Kami menyadari bahwa metode pembelajaran berbasis teknologi menjadi suatu hal yang harus dikembangkan, khususnya di Universitas Kristen Indonesia. Dengan dukungan teknologi tinggi, UKI mempersiapkan diri menjadi universitas berskala internasional yang bermutu, mandiri, dan inovatif di bidang tridharma perguruan tinggi. UKI menerapkan paradigma pendidikan Merdeka Belajar, Kampus Merdeka, yang sesuai dengan karakter masyarakat Indonesia. Kami siap melayani mahasiswa menjadi generasi yang unggul, yang memiliki nilai-nilai rendah hati, berbagi peduli, disiplin, profesional, bertanggung jawab, dan berintegritas.
Kami selalu ada untuk kemajuan generasi bangsa Indonesia dengan menerapkan pendidikan berstandar internasional di era digital. Karena kami datang untuk melayani.
Dengan mengucapkan puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan yang Maha Kuasa, dengan ini saya meresmikan Fakultas Sastra menjadi Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa Universitas Kristen Indonesia. Kiranya Tuhan memberkati kita semua. Viva UGI! UGI hebat! UGI hebat!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, lecturer, dean, the speakers, and students. Welcome to our webinar with title Translation Prospect on Various Fields of Work in this Globalization in today's evening. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Brilian Danisha, student of Faculty of Letters in Universitas Kristen Indonesia. And before we start this event, I would like to ask Mr. Johannes to lead us in prayer. Mr. Johannes? Hello, Mr. Johannes. Yes, Mr. Johannes is already here. Okay, or maybe I could ask Miss Mika to lead us in prayer, Miss.
Okay,
Okay, Miss, the time is yours.
thank you. Before we start our class, our webinar of English Literature Department entitled Translation Prospects on Various Fields of Work in this Globalization Era, let's start by Christian prayer. I'm so sorry for those who are not in Christian religion because I'd like to bring in Christian way. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for your blessing so we can gather here in our webinar, especially in our department English literature. We do hope that you bless this webinar from the beginning until the end. Please bless all the guest speakers and all of us as the participants so we can get and be and get something fruitful up from this webinar. Thank you, Jesus. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Miss Mika. And next, I would like to invite Ma'am Yusniati Galengging M. Home as the chairman of the committee to give an opening speech. Ma'am Yusniati. Is Ma'am Yusniati already here?
Okay, I'm already.
Okay. Ma'am Yus, the time is yours.
Thank you, really. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Firstly, I want to say this. Thank you, same. Or, thank you, come back. This is a literal Indonesian English translations of terima kasih, sama-sama. Terima kasih, kembali. This is ridiculous, right? So, not to make these kinds of mistakes in translation, we now gather here to talk, to discuss many things about the translation. We are now in the era of globalization. Translation, of course, has many prospects in various fields of work, as just what our theme for this webinar. Like what Italo Calvino said, yeah, without translation, I would be limited to the border of my own country. Translation is my most important ally. He introduces me to the world. About the translation, Solewolpe said, my translation becomes a recreation that reflect the original, just as the sea can reflect the sky with its moving stars, shifting clouds, gestations of the moon, and migrating birds. But ultimately, the sea is not the sky. First of all, I should give my grateful to the Almighty for his lovely care of all of us, that he keep us healthy so we are able to be together here now. I also deliver my gratitude to the Dean of the Faculty of Letters and Languages and to the head of English Literature Department, Universitas Kristen Indonesia, for the opportunity to have this webinar. And the most honor, of course, I would like to address to our distinguished speakers, Mr. Dr. Anam Sutopo, SPD and HUM from Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, and Mr. Dr. Sugeng Haryanto, SPD and PD from Politeknik Negeri Malang. As we know, both of our speakers today are very capable and expert in the field of translation. We are very lucky to have them now. We can dig up deep knowledge from Mr. Dr. Anam, and we can receive many experiences in translations from Mr. Dr. Sugeng Haryanto as a practitioner in the field of translation. Thank you very much, Mr. Anam. Thank you very much, Mr. Sugeng, for giving us your valuable time and that you are willing to share your knowledge with us today. The last but not the least, I should say welcome and thank you to all participants, to all the students for joining this general lecture. Hope this webinar will give much benefit to all of us. May God bless us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Yus. And next, I would like to invite the Dean of Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa Universitas Kristen Indonesia, Ma'am Susan Aha Sitohang SSMA, to give an opening speech. For Ma'am Susan, the time is yours.
Okay, bentar ya. Can you hear me? Is my voice audible? Okay, good. All right. So good. Selamat siang. Good afternoon. Welcome to this public lecture on translation with the title. With the title prospects. Sorry. I am now mixed up with my. Okay. Tunggu ya, sebentar. Maaf. Okay. So the title of today's public lecture is Translation Prospects on Various Fields of Work in this Globalization Era. So this is a very important topic, I think, and very interesting subject to discuss. And it will be beneficial for all the participants attending this lecture. So I would like to welcome Bapak Dr. Anam Sutopo, SPD M.Hum, and Dr. Sugeng Haryanto, SPD M.Hum. Since this is a translation lecture, I think I will mix both languages, Bahasa Indonesia and English. So that also, because I understand there are students from other faculties present in this kuliah umum. Yeah. So this is also maybe an introduction to the field of translation and the prospects of translation in the workforce. Ya. Jadi untuk mahasiswa dari fakultas lain, Anda akan mendengarkan mengenai prospek translation ya dalam berbagai, kalau dari judulnya ya, dalam berbagai bidang pekerjaan dalam era globalisasi. So this only goes to show you how important languages are. Ya, ini hanya untuk ini saya lagi menerjemahkan perkataan saya ya. Jadi supaya kalian dengarkan bagaimana pentingnya punya kemampuan dalam bahasa asing, ya. Jadi meskipun kalian dari berbagai fakultas, yang saya tahu pasti adalah fakultas ini ada mata kuliah Bahasa Inggris kelas B with Ibu Devi, ya. Selamat datang di Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa. Jadi kalian akan melihat ada prospek-prospek pekerjaan di mana kalian akan jauh lebih diuntungkan kalau kalian punya kemampuan berbahasa. Terutama kalian akan bisa menjadi penerjemah, entah penerjemah dokumen di kantor atau penerjemah apa itu, saya kurang hafal istilahnya, interpreter ya, itu juga sangat dibutuhkan di era globalisasi. Since this is the globalization era globalisasi, tentu kita harus menjadi internasional ya, being a citizen of the world ya, menjadi warga negara dunia requires us to speak more than one language ya. So semoga nanti sesudah kuliah umum ini Anda akan terinspirasi untuk meningkatkan kemampuan bahasa Inggris kalian, karena itu akan membuka berbagai pintu, berbagai kesempatan untuk menjadi lebih bermanfaat ya dalam hidup kalian. Now I would also like to thank the committee ya, Ibu dan Bapak dalam kepanitiaan. This is the result of hard work preparing for today. So we are grateful for the hard work, and we are sure that this lecture will give us benefits. Thank you for Ibu Kaprodi, Ibu Mika Saragi for making this happen. Oh ya, di sini dikatakan ada dari Fakultas Teknik Program Studi Elektro ya. Tentunya juga sekalian saya izin promosi ya. Jangan lupa di Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa ada program dual degree ya untuk adik-adik yang dari prodi-prodi yang lain. Jangan ingat tadi, if you have knowledge in different languages, we have bahasa Inggris and we have bahasa Mandarin ya. So you can take the two languages ya by joining Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa. For more information, you can ask Ibu dan Bapak dosen di dalam kelas kalian. So without further ado, I officially open this public lecture, and I do hope you will enjoy, tanda kutip ya, enjoy the lecture. Thank you very much. Back to you, MC.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Suzanne. And now I'm about to read today's moderator's CV. So his name is Mr. Gunawan Tambun Saribu SSMSS. He is a permanent lecturer in Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa UKI. Mr. Gun has conducted some researches, such as an annotated translation of Sharon M. Draper Out of My Mind in Jurnal Dialektika UKI, ketepatan terjemahan kolokasi bahasa Inggris ke dalam bahasa Indonesia menggunakan Google Translate in Jurnal Dialektika UKI, the psychological approach of melody in novel entitled Out of My Mind by Sharon M. Draper in International Proceeding, the use of root words by Indonesian teenager, a sociolinguistic case in International Proceeding Atlantis Press, a neuroscience implementation in learning English to be for English learner in Indonesia in National Journal, the translation of English helping verbs into Bahasa Indonesia, a descriptive analytical translation in Cinta 3 Index Journal, the morphological process of slang words used by teenager in Jakarta and its negative effect in their academic qualification in Cinta 4 Index Journal, analisis pelafalan mahasiswa dalam melafalkan irregular verbs bahasa Inggris in National Journal, pronunciation problems faced by Indonesian college students who learn to speak English in International Journal Scopus Indexing, fenomena penggunaan kata anjing sebagai kata gaul dalam komunikasi remaja di Jakarta, sebuah kajian bahasa dan budaya in National Journal, and last, analisis terjemahan to be dalam kalimat pasif bahasa Inggris ke bahasa Indonesia, grammar in translation in UKI Press Journal. Mr. Gunawan is also an author for some books, and those are Say It, Basic Pronunciation, Cinta dan Kehidupan Volume 1 Lika-Liku Kehidupan, Cinta dan Kehidupan Volume 2 Love and Friendship, Say It, Keunikan Bahasa Inggris, Benci Beralas Rindu, ontologi puisi berjudul Daun-Daun Berguguran, and last, ontologi cerpen berjudul Nyanyian Prosa. Okay, that's all for Mr. Gunawan's CV. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Gunawan. Mr. Gunawan?
Hi.
Hello, Mr.
Thank you. Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Danisha, for it's flattering me. All right, and thank you so much for reading my biography. And ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We welcome you to our webinar as a kind of public lecture for today entitled Translation Prospect on Various Fields of Work in this Globalization Era, presented by Faculty of Letters and Languages, English Literature Study Program, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. We are very pleased to have our two distinguished speakers for today. They are Professor Dr. Anam Sutopo, SPD MHum, and the second speaker is Dr. Sugeng Haryanto, SPD MPD. They are the lecturers from high reputation universities in Indonesia. Dr. Sugeng is the lecturer from Polytechnic Negeri Malang, and Dr. Anam Sutopo is from Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. All right, this webinar session will be moderated by me. I'm Gunawan Tamun Saribu. I'm a permanent lecturer from English Study Program, Universitas Kristen Indonesia, Faculty of Letters and Languages. All right, this is the very precious time. Before we invite our first honorable speaker for today to present about his experiences in translation field, let me first read his biography as his introduction to all of us. All right, I'm very honored to read his biography. His full name is Sugeng Haryanto. He is a lecturer as well as a translator, as well as an editor. So he is very expert in translation field. Okay, in his education background, let me read first from the last. Okay, he got his doctorate degree from Universitas Negeri Malang. He graduated in 2009. And he graduated from master degree in Universitas Negeri Malang in 1999, and he got his bachelor's degree from Universitas Negeri Malang in 1999. Okay, this is about his experiences in following or in attending some training. Okay, in 2008, he went to Australia for a short course in research in translation study. Wow, it's a great experience. Okay, and in 2005, we went to Amsterdam also for a training in project-based learning in Holland Professional University. And he also went to Singapore in 1997 for a diploma in applied linguistics, CME RELC. Okay, this is about his experience. There are many experiences in teaching and for giving consultation also. But the most interesting thing is that, yes, he is a trainer for translation trainings organized by some publishers, universities, and organizations. So we are very lucky to have him as our invited speaker for today. And let me read his latest writings or papers. There are two here that he put, but I guarantee that he made or he conducted many researches. But recently, Mr. Sugeng wrote a paper entitled Implementing Eco-Translation to Build Translation Competence and Course Design, TESOL International Journal. This was in 2021. Okay, this is a very recent paper. And the second paper he wrote entitled Project-Based Learning, Improving Employability Skills in Translation for College Students. It is in the Asian ESB Journal in 2020 also. And he also wrote some books. The first one entitled Bersilat di Rimba Kata, he published in 2020, joint publication with translators. And the second book he wrote is Tak Ada Yang Pergi Dari Hati. Wow, this is very unique title. I will be love to read this one. And the third written here is entitled Sajak Cinta Seadanya. He published in 2010. All right, without any further ado, and I guarantee that you are also have been very, very excited to have him as our invited speaker. Without any further ado, we invite you, Dr. Sugeng Haryanto, SPD, MPD, to give us your worth it experience. Time is yours, Dr. Sugeng.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kunawan.
My pleasure.
Nice introduction of not nice person.
Thank you.
Pak Anam Sutopo, Nuwun Sewu, I speak first.
Okay.
Ladies and
That's okay.
ladies and gentlemen, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear students, and also participants from non-Universitas Kristen Indonesia, selamat siang, good afternoon. I'm very happy to get an invitation from Bu Jusmiati to speak at UKI, because I was an old friend of the late Pak Setia Bangun. This is his institution, so I feel honored to speak in my old friends, the late Pak Setia Bangun's institution. Okay, I will share my screen for a while. Okay. The theme of our talks today is translation prospect on various fields of work in this globalization era. And I will talk partly from what I experienced and partly from what I read. My name is Sugeng Haryanto. My home affiliation is Polytechnic Negeri Malang, English Department for Translation and Hospitality Industry. The second name is Transcommunica. This is the translation office that I founded in 2000. So that's my background, and from this two institutions I built on my talks today. People call today's world is digital world, digital first world. Digital first world, not digital second, digital third, digital fourth, but digital first world. This is the world where we launch our content, our message via digital media first, and then conventional media. That's what we mean by digital first world. And this kind of world really affects translations business, translation industry, language industry. This is a list of top localization trends for 2021. So this is the word, localization. I will talk about the word again. The 4 points in localization trends is e-commerce or digital business localization is number 1. Number 2, e-learning material translation, materials, and also the suggestion, guideline, manual. Number 3 is transcreation, and still number 4, medical translation. I say still because medical translation has been in the trend for at least 4 years from now. And then next, now, according to MATE is a company working on digital communication and also transition industry. According to me, there are some points in transition service trend. The first is AI transition trend. This is the trend of translation using artificial intelligence embedded into machine translation. It is now we have what we call neural machine translation, or NMT. If we have MT, then we have the second, machine translation post editing. I'll talk about it a bit later. Number 3, audio visual translation services, still there. Closed captioning and subtitling. With the pandemic, subtitling is on the rise. Voice over services, dubbing, localization services, and the new one, video remote interpretation. Which one are you familiar with from these points? And we'll talk about it later. What happened in 2020 that teach us in the language industry? We have 3 points, but the 2 points maybe you are not familiar. I mean, students are not familiar. What we are familiar is number 2, video translation continues its meteoric rise, not only a rise, but meteoric rise. It means sub-rise amongst translation services. Number 1 is translation management system. This is related with translation offices or agencies. And GPT-3, this is a new development in translation industries related to machine translation, but a little bit different with machine translation because we can adjust many things. I'm still talking about the trend. Still talking about the trend in digital first world. According to LILT is an organization working in the research for communication and language industry. Trend number 1, this is important for our talk today. Trend number 1 is volume and demand for localized contents are growing. Underline localized content. So again, the trend is still localization. Based on the survey by Lil, 72% of LSP is certain language service providers or translation office simply. So 72% of the LSP states that the demand for localized contents are growing. So we have to know, or maybe we have to see or read again what is localization, so we can anticipate and we can. Trend number 2 is enterprises. Enterprises underestimate the complexity that localization involves. So enterprises is a big company. For example, see Microsoft. Microsoft do some localization of the material, but just an example, that company underestimate the complexity of the localization process that happens in language service provider. So just give not very complete translation brief or instruction and expect that everything will be okay. But actually, localization is more complex rather than estimated or understood by that enterprises. Now, trend number 3, status quo is no longer good enough. If you want to be good enough, leave status quo, and then learn something new, what is happening today. Just good enough. So if we just learn to translate the way we translated in the past, status quo, it is not good enough. To be good enough that we have to catch up the trend, what is going on now. Okay, localized, my big is about local content strategy or strategy of localizing contents. That's complex, but enterprises think that it's not that complex. People say, sir, machine translation is on the rise. The result is getting better. So are we still, I mean, human translators, are we still in control? Maybe the question is like that. According to Anna Windham, we have 10 areas where translators are still in control in the loop. Loop is a process of working from the beginning to the end. We call it loop. So there is a topic, human in the loop. With the rise of machine translation, there is a topic, human in the loop, whether we control the process, we control the loop, or we are the slave of the loop. According to Windham, in these 10 areas proves that translators are still essential experts. Number one, translators as decision makers in the case of MTPE. MTPE means machine translation post-editing. Translators as creators that cannot be replaced by machine in the case of transcreation. Number three, translators as world changers. If we, as our dean talked about interpreting, when we are interpreters in international diplomacy and politics, then we are part of the world changers. Even some of our colleagues as interpreters are betting their lives to bridge the communication. Number four, translators as consultant and testers, testing and benchmarking localized product. The example is a company localized the website. We already localized the text, and then the company will put the site live for translators to test whether that is fine or not. Is there any last changing to be implemented before we make it live for everybody? I'm now this week also in the process of doing online QA or live QA for the localization of hotel chains based in Singapore. Translation in law. When we are talking about law, legal text, it's everywhere. Like our teams just talked about, it can be in engineering, can be in architecture, it can be in business, it can be in education. So legal text is everywhere, and this is still given to human being to translate it because of the sensitive nature of the contents. Number six, translators at the start of the loop. So even though we have machine translation, but it starts from the data of human translators. And translators as terminologies, especially when we are talking about translating scientific or technical text or specialized text. Number eight, we know all, literary translation, literary translators is not to be replaced by a machine. Translators closing the loop, and number 10 as a resist is all are talking about machine translation. Now, our theme is about globalization. I'm still talking about the field now. Globalization. In our theme, what is globalization? Globalization has been around for several years, maybe a decade, and we know that globalization can be in the business field, economy field, culture field, politics, and many other fields. But these four fields are heavily related with translation, especially number one and number two. Huge amount of work is there about globalization in business world and economic world. Culture and politics, the amount is lower than the first. Now, put it here. Cultural globalization indicate the transmission of values, meaning, and ideas across the world and it is translation. The same thing in the political globalization. Now, nation states, in some ways, are minimized. The role is minimized because we have international agreement and economic globalization. We have multinational company. Companies are everywhere in the world. They have to operate, they have to sell, they have to buy, and therefore they have to translate. I will not talk about this. This is to tutors, but if you look at my list of field overview there, the one that I colored, marketing translation is number one. And then technical translation and legal translations are about the same. And the other field needs translation, but not as high as the one that I colored that. This is based on the fact about the orders that that we receive and so on. Features of globalization will create translation demand. We have four, but I circle two important ones. Much greater international trade. If we have international trade, we have purchasing and selling of goods. We are selling our services across nations, across borders. And to make people buy our product, we have to reach the heart. For example, we are Indonesian, we speak English, but when product speaks English and when product speaks Bahasa Indonesia, we feel more at ease with the product speaking our language. That's psychologically, and that is the reason for localization and transcreation. Number two, more companies that operate in multiple countries. It means that the workers are from the local country, the employees, the rules of the local country, and therefore we need translation. If you see my picture here, it results in the demands of translation for marketing websites, marketing collateral, contracts, product documentation. And then finally, we can divide into three types. First, translation demand, localization demand, and transcreation demand. Translation demand for translation for unimportant materials, maybe it will be taken over by machine. But very sensitive text needs a human translation. Localization and translation is done by human being. As number two, here we have more companies operate in multiple countries, have multiple various ethnic employees, clients, consultants, and so on. So the materials for communication need to be translated. Communication with employees, with partners, with other stakeholders. The materials that should be translated or localized includes COC, Code of Conduct, training materials, websites or materials, annual report, and many other things. Now, legal translation. What is important about legal translation? This is for business contract, employment contract, and also litigation, court, and so on. We have to pay attention to the function and purpose. The function and the purpose of the text to translate. We have to pay attention to different legal systems. For example, if we have to translate from English into Bahasa Indonesia, and the original British English text has the word mortgage. We see in kamus, then bahasa Indonesianya adalah hipotek. But we have to see what is the function and the purpose of this text. If the text is a contract, maybe we cannot translate it into hypothec because from UK or British legal system, mortgage in the course of bankruptcy has a certain way of taking care of the collateral, which is different from Indonesian legal system. Maybe in that case, even though we have hypothec, we need to borrow mortgage. Because in Indonesia, hypothek KPR misalnya, if we default, if we don't pay the loan, the bank can seize your property and sell it. But mortgage in British legal system, banks cannot do that. So this is a legal effect, legal impact on that. And number three that is important is legalese or legal styles of the language. We have doublet, triplet, we have di bahasa Indonesia ada several metaphors within the Indonesian legal system, but that metaphor doesn't exist in UK or American legal system. Harta kono gini, for example, that metaphor doesn't exist there. Okay. Now about technical translation. We translate product documentation, manual, data sheets, and many other. What we need to do this is our knowledge of the topic. This is knowledge background. If we are translate a documentation for electronic driver, for example, so we have to know what driver is. Electronic driver is not the same as driver of a car. It is not the same as driver of your computer or laptop. Electronic driver is something else. Even though we have driver for car, driver for computer, but electronic driver is something else, exactly different. Terminology related to the topic, we have a specific terminology for each part, but we have to know that too. CAT tools is a must. If now we cannot operate CAT tools, cannot work with CAT tools, we cannot expect to get international job for this. Anything, it must be done with CAT tools. And CAT tools today is CAT tools which is cloud-based. So we don't save our transition memory in our computer, our workstation, but we save it in the cloud storage of our end client. So we don't have the TM after the word. Okay. Medical translation, it's a vast area. Then it's still on demand. It includes pharmacology, medical rescue system, surgery, obstetric, blah, 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 blah. But among them, the biggest proportion is the translation for medical equipments. That's the biggest part of this field. Now, if you still remember, yang tadi beroperasi di negara lain, operating in multiple nationals, that we have three kinds of things. So, in dealing with the marketing text, the marketing materials, we have three terms that exist in translation industry or language industry. I'm not sure in academic field they agree with this or not, but in the industry they have this. You believe it, you don't believe it, you like it, you don't like it. They use these terms: translation, localization, and transcreation. Translation keep, localization adapt, transcreation create. This is the keyword. Translation keeps means in translation we keep the spirit and also the form, the meaning and then the form of the source language. So we try to be very close as possible with the suspects. Okay, so maybe we change the word into another language. That's it. That's translation. This is level 1. We keep everything but the word. And level 2, localized, and localization we adapt. We adapt collateral. What is collateral? Collateral itu kalau di bank, collateral itu tanggungan ya, jaminan. But collateral in marketing means marketing materials. So collateral here is marketing materials. Adapt collateral into specific locale. Locales mean target market. So we adapt the marketing material into a specific target market. We'll have the example later. This level 2. So if you see from translation and localization, we use our creativity, our knowledge of culture, a bit freer. In transcreation, this is level 3, we are much freer here. We create content in the target language inspired by the source. So the source content is only an inspiration to create a new content considering the target language and the culture. That's level 3. Now, okay, I think we agree here, content, and I think we talk about that, language, okay, I have talked about it. Image, in localization and transcreation, image may be changed, but in translation, no. You see layout there. We can change the layouts in localization and transcreation. Brand vocabulary, no changing generally, but in transcreation, sometimes, not always. Turnaround times, quick, slower. Translation is very quick, localization quite slow, transcreation is slower. Therefore, the pay for transcreation is not by how many words we are working with, but how many hours we spend. 2 weeks ago, I've got 3 lines. 3 lines, a slogan will be used in a video, marketing video, and I need maybe 3 hours to transcreate the 3 lines. It's still confidential, belum diluncurkan oleh pemiliknya, so I cannot show it to you. Okay. I think I will skip it. Okay. Now a bit into localization. What we usually localized? We usually localize the humor because if we don't localize, maybe people do not laugh. Number 2, slang or specific or fixed terms, idiom and expression, custom and tradition, time and date formatting. Jadi 26/7/91 itu 07/06/91 itu tanggal berapa, bulan apa. So it may be confusing. Currency, color. In Indonesia, red means brave. In Chinese, red means well-being. So the color may suggest something else, and maybe we need to localize too. Measurement units from miles into kilometers or meters. Local regulation. Kalau di Amerika 911, in Indonesia I don't know. Design and layout. Kalau di kita dari kiri ke kanan, if we localize into Arabic, nulisnya semuanya dari kanan ke kiri. So that's it. This one is the example of, okay, this is an old example. This is the example of localization of marketing collaterals. Manjakan panca inderamu, temukan pemandangan, suara, rasa, dan kegembiraan baru pada kunjungan Anda berikutnya di Marina Bay Sands. Okay. Mr. Gunawan knows that these words are not picked up at random. We choose the words. We want to maintain the flow of the sounds. the rhyme, and so on with the original. But we do not change a lot, and this is what we call localization. Now, another example and localization about local regulation, for example, in Indonesia, nomor satu, it's okay for advertisement, but in Japan, we cannot say so. If there is no research, you are number one. So instead of saying number one in Japan, if we don't have the research, we say we have to say something else. Yang bisa Anda percaya atau apa? Okay. This is a localized cartoon. A localized cartoon. This is localized cartoon. The Simpsons is localized, culturally adapted to Middle East. So you see, Simpsons are wearing that scarf, that dress. See, Homer never drinks beer, but soda never eats pork. It's always made clear, ditulis atau dikatakan that meat is lamb or beef. Okay, now we go to transgression. 6 ways transgression differs from translation according to SmartLinks. If you see the picture, we are touching upon emotion, culture, audience, language, and it's all transgression. Number 1, transgression specialists are writers. So people like Pak Gunawan is a very good candidate for transcreators, because it is only the writers that can weigh the choice of words, choose it to please the eyes and also the ears. Okay, so when we are choosing words to please the eyes, then we use the image based on the visualization, and we choose the words based on the sounds, and this is the beauty of the sounds that is important. But the beauty of the sounds in English and Bahasa Indonesia is different. The rhyme E means something, but in English may be different. The same thing. Indonesia may be romantic, but in English maybe it's not romantic. So transcreator should be also writers. Transcreation starts with a creative brief. This is not source text given to you and then please translate, no, but with creative brief. So what you have to do, this, place. Our brain is place. Our purpose is place. And now this is the original one. Please transcreate. Okay. Sometimes, based on the experience, sometimes the end client speak to us, speak to translators, speak to me, 45 minutes just to transcribe, just to transcreate the text for the video of 30 seconds. Maybe it's already out. It's about susu formula untuk anak. So creative brief is very important because it's really guide the translators how to do things. Transcreation can, because as I said, it's not counted by words, the words number, but by the time we spend. Transcreation results in new messaging. Transcreation tries to reach the heart of our target audience, not only to reach the brain, but the heart. So we can motivate our target audience to act, maybe buy the product. Number 5, transcreation is for creative marketing focused copy. Usually this is iklan. Translation involves advising on look and feel as well. Bagaimana layoutnya and how it feels to us. Now, see, this is content type most often requiring transcreation. Marketing collateral, marketing material is number 1, 52%, and you can see down there. Financial content is only 9% because we cannot creative in financial content. Every term is technical term. Okay. Next is in what industry? Tadi aja bicara about fields. Transcreation is needed mostly in consumer products. When we are talking about milk, shampoo, soaps, perfume, and all that we need every day. Next is travel and leisure. Travel and leisure, airport, airways, hotel, condominium, theme park, and so on. Computer or video games, and you know also you can read it down there. And manufacturing, 8%. Of course, we do not transcreate for manufacturing except for the product. This is for me. This is, I make it simple. If you need to transcreate, think about the original, but then forget the original because we have to transcreate. We have to recreate that. Example now. This is about pisau cukur. Mereknya apa? Sik apa? This is about razor, pisau cukur. Now you see how this is transcreated considering local consumer insights. In Malaysia, don't feel like uncle. Because uncle means like this one. Uncle is somebody from the past. Kita ada paman, tapi uncle di sana tidak sama dengan paman di bahasa Indonesia. And then bulu, itu bulu, hair in bahasa bulu, and then target media, radio, and digital. Now, you see, that's the picture used. The same thing in Indonesia, the insight is social sharing. Everywhere people take a selfie and then share. And the channel is digital and sampling. And, you know, selfie there is emphasized because Indonesian people are very fond of taking selfies. In Philippines, insights daily life is stressful. Okay, so by saving, it can lessen the stressful. See, the insight is so the picture is about stressful life, and so on. So again, when we are talking about transcreation, insight from the local is very very useful. Okay. Do I have still 4 minutes, Pak Kudawan?
You still have 15 minutes to go, Pak Sugeng.
Oh, 15 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. Then now this is an example, a transcreation from the title is Haribo from German versus British. You can read my my notes down there. See. The slogans is adjusted based on the target leaders, target audience, target market. The same thing, something's brewing just for you. This is the sounds that is important. Something's brewing, just for you. And then it is translated into that part. So I cannot pronounce that. Now you can see Coca-Cola ads, different countries, different picture, and different word. Okay, based on the same. Okay, some people refer to this thing with the term creative translation, meaning that in doing translation, translators use creativity to create target text that better speaks to a new audience in terms of the language, culture, and emotion. And it includes the two that I've talked about, localization and transcreation. Actually, this is a video clip showing you the result of translation. And this is in English. I don't play it. And this is in Chinese. The theme is the same, how a boy grows up and doing unlimited actions with full of confidence, but different stories because different target markets. Now, the last part of my presentation is talking about machine and translation. We cannot avoid that because maybe you, our students, translators, using Google Translate. This is our daily life. Huh? We have post-editing and creative translation. Why we have empty? Because people, companies need quick translation, and human translators cannot translate that quick. Real example, maybe 1 month ago, Transcomunica, our translation office, got a request from a big translation office around the world, some 100 words translation, but needed in 7 days. And we cannot do it, we refuse. In that case, then machine translation can be a choice because it can produce high volume quickly, so it helps the customers, the end clients with the speed to the market. What is speed to the market? Speed to the market means this is the time like between a product is produced and the product can be bought by somebody in the market. That's speed to the market. If our speed to the market is low, so competitors will take the opportunity. So speed to the market is important, and therefore big companies for certain portion of the text turns to machine translation, and also other urgent needs, for example, for court interpreting and so on. That makes machine translation a choice for them. But not all materials can be given to the machine. Creative translation and which include localization and transcreation should be given to human being because it cannot be done by a machine. As I said, transcreation price is threefold. I mean, if the price of translation is 100, and the translation price can be 300 or 500. So many folds, huh? So berlipat-lipat. And therefore, people come to talk about hybrid mode, where first is done by machine translation for the raw result of the machine translation or raw output of machine translation is edited by human being. And that's what we call machine translation post-editing. There are two types, basically. Light editing only edits about lexical error and syntax error, or full editing, plus less obvious error. Less obvious means if we see it at the glance, it is noticeable, but there is an error. Style characteristic, we adjust the style, and fluency, we improve the naturalness of the text. If we do full post-editing, we will produce human-like translation, which is like produced by 100% human being. Okay, and there is guide already. There are guides, but one of the respected guides in post-editing is one produced or issued by TAUS, T-A-U-S, is another institution in linguist industry, but recently switched to language data industry. So we have the words good enough quality, light PE. We have some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 points to see, to consider, and the other one is we call it equal to human translation, and that is the one that need more creativity. And I think that's all from me. Thank you very much. Hopefully what I present can give you some insights what's happening in translation industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Sugeng, for your worthy explanation and giving us your personal experiences in doing translation. And ladies and gentlemen, this is question and answer session. I would like to invite you to deliver your question. You can use raising hand tools, and you can write down your question on our chat bar. Okay. Okay. While we are waiting for other participants to ask some question, let me conclude something or a very interesting thing in Pak Sugeng's sharing just now. And yeah, before we have here another students for not from English literature. Jadi teman-teman, penerjemahan yang tadi dijelaskan oleh Pak Sugeng itu sebenarnya itu sangat penting, very important to all of us, not only for English literature students, bukan hanya anak sastra, karena di dunia sekarang namanya globalization, means that we can integrate all our, in our daily lives in economics, politics, and etc. Jadi kita bisa melihat bahwasanya fungsi penerjemahan ini bukan hanya untuk sebenarnya menyampaikan makna. Seperti yang tadi disampaikan oleh Pak Sugeng, kalau di dunia marketing itu ada namanya trust creation. Artinya kita tidak menyampaikan makna, maksudnya word for word, kata per kata. Tapi kita harus adapt apa sih permintaan klien, dan kita harus bisa membaca gitu loh. Tulisan itu kita harus membuat seindah mungkin, semenarik mungkin. Namanya juga marketing, artinya to attract the people to buy our products. Ya, jadi penerjemahan ini sungguh bermanfaat untuk semua bidang. So yeah, I can't stop thanking Mr. Sugeng for this topic for today. Ladies and gentlemen, ada pertanyaan? Can you MC please? Can you see the? Can you help me to check the chat bar?
Yes, actually sudah ada satu pertanyaan nih.
Oh, I see. Let me check it first. The chat box, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Let me read. Pak Sugeng, this is from Belawati. She is from Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa. And good afternoon, Pak Sugeng. I would like to ask you about transcreation. You mentioned that a transcreator can only be done by a writer. Besides being a writer, in order to be a transcreator, should he or she also become a sworn translator first? Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Pak Gunawan. Talk about sworn translators first, not digital first, but sworn translator first. Now, what is sworn translator? Sworn translator is a translator that has a certificate from the related authority that you has been sworn to be a legal translator. In the past, this is the governor of DKI, but now, hopefully starting from next year, it will be sworn in by Menteri Hukum dan Perundang-undangan. Who needs sworn translators? Usually, this is the court, embassies, or things related with legal, with trial, with things like this. So usually with legal text, but not all legal texts need a sworn translator. As for creative translation like transcreation, there is nothing to do with sworn translator, because sometimes we are good at translating legal text, but we are not good for creative text. So this is exactly like, no, even though it is a hyperbole, it's like the West and the East. Legal translation, sworn translators is talking about accurate translation, transcription is talking about creative translation. So no, okay. It doesn't have to be Swan's translator first.
Okay, so the
And
answer
why,
is no. Yeah, Pak Sugeng.
no. Why should be a writer? Because this is the writer who can weigh, who can create nice expression based on the sound, based on the typography and several other consideration, including imagery. Thank you.
Okay, Bella, is it satisfy? Does it satisfy your question? Sudah terpuaskan dengan jawaban Dr. Sugeng? Okay, she thanks you, Pak Sugeng. All right, is there any question from the floor? Silakan teman-teman. You can ask in bahasa. Please, I know because some of you are coming from, you are not majoring in English literature. Kalau bukan yang fakultas non-sastra, silakan bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia. Mungkin pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang singkat, padat, dan jelas, tapi sesuai dengan hubungannya dengan penerjemahan. Come on, guys. Ya, saya paham because some of you are not from English
I see
literature.
Emilio raise hands.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me invite Emilio Josephine to deliver a question directly to Pak Sugeng. Please, time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Gunawan. Afternoon, sir. I'm a first semester student and I study management. So I would like to ask you that in this era, countries have been developing AI, artificial intelligence technology, as you described, and improving machine translation software also means that there are some different opportunities available to translators who now edit and refine work that has been translated initially by a machine. So is it difficult to convey the correct message when transcreating a project for a foreign market? What do you think about it? Thank you.
Okay,
Can you repeat the question, please? I don't get it quite well.
Yes.
Could you please repeat your question, Emilio?
Yes. My question is it difficult to convey the correct message when transcreating a project for a foreign market?
Okay, it is difficult. It depends. It depends on the materials, depends on the translators. Maybe Pak Anam Sutopo can answer it very well from the theoretical point of view. I just answer it from a practical point of view. Which text it is difficult to transfer? Which meaning is difficult to transfer? First, number one, if it is about marketing, if it contains cultural reference, whether this is from the picture or from the words, and this is difficult to transfer the meaning. For example, if you still remember, one of the slogan of KFC is finger licking good, finger licking good, finger licking good. But if you translate into Bahasa Indonesia, it's just not right. Enak hingga menjelajahi. So it's just not right. So we don't translate that. We keep it finger licking goods. Even we don't use that slogan in Indonesia. And for technical text, the most important thing is the one that the field of the technical field, the engineering field, is still new because we don't have the synonym of the words, the translation or the equivalent of the words in our language first, and we have to weigh whether we want to create our own translation with the expense of people will be confused, or we will use the original one, the English one. People are happy and understand, but there will be many terms like that. Okay, this is the difficult one. For the market, I will go to borrowing the words. But sometimes the reviewer will say, blah, 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 it's not right, blah, blah, okay. That's usually that's the things. And number three, of course, the translator's capability, and it is related with experience. Okay, is there any additional things?
So what I can get from your explanation is the difficulty comes when figuring out whether it is attractive and reflective of the intended message. Isn't that true, sir?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, is that all, Miss Emilio? If you have other question, please ask directly.
No,
No
sir, that
more?
will be all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amelia Josephine, for your question to Pak Sugeng. And other question, please. Still,
Mr. Gunawan, you are muted.
oh, sorry. Thank you, Pak Sugeng, for reminding me. Participants, our dearest participants, do you have any questions still? Or maybe from our lecturers who are in this June right now from Fakultas Sastra and Bahasa?
That's Gerson Sitanggang asked a question.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah, let me read it to you, Pak Sugeng. Good afternoon, sir. I'm Gerson Sitanggang from Fakultas Sastra Bahasa. Sir, do you have some tips or tricks to improve translation skill? Please answer, Pak Sugeng.
Okay, as in other skills, there is a smooth way to the destination. We do the exercise, we translate, and then translate number one. Number two is, okay, first we translate the step, we translate and then set it aside for one night. We revise the next day. Okay, and then after that we ask our friends. It's better if the friend is a better translator. Ask to give comment to our translation or find the errors of our translation, and then we read again our translation, especially focusing our attention especially on the points that our friends say that it is not good. We analyze and make a note where is the weakness. What is the weakness? After that, we also improve it, and we also take a note our improvement. We ask the further comment, can be from the same friends, about the quality. So by keeping that diary, we keep learning, and also the most important thing, what have we already done wrong and how to improve it. Okay, and again we do it. All right. Translation is not a quick skills to master. It needs years to master. Not a good student will turn to Google Translate to do the assignment. But if you are good at using Google Translate, you are not needed when you graduate. Because Google Translate is there. Why you do the same as Google Translate? So even though you get A, but your skills in using Google Translate is almost useless. What is needed outside there, you know Google Translate, but you know how to correct and revise the output of Google Translate. To know to revise the output of Google Translate needs us good comment, knowledge, and skills in human translation. Thank you. Gabriela also asked something.
Okay, because time is up, Gabriela, maybe you can deliver, or I can deliver your question to Mr. Sugeng's email. so that he can answer your question via email. Because we'll be going to have our session time, our rest time for 10 minutes maybe. So I'm thanking you, Pak Sugeng. So I conclude a little, the most important thing that Pak Sugeng said just now is in translation, in mastering translation, it takes years and years. And related to Gerson's question just now, in having skills in translation, we have to practice, and then by practicing our translation work, we revise it, and then we can add any comments from other translations, giving comments to our translation result, and then we are still learning for improving. So every site in life takes process. So in this time, I thank you so much. I thank you so much, Pak Sugeng, for this worthy time, giving us your worthy experience and also your presentation just now. And I do hope you are in well condition. And yes, of course, this is the session for our recess time. And this time I give to Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Danisha, time is yours.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Sugeng. Maybe we can give Mr. Sugeng a virtual applause for his presentation. And sekarang akan ada waktu istirahat hingga pukul 2:30. Mungkin para pembicara dan para hadirin sekalian bisa mempergunakan beberapa menit ke depan ini untuk ke toilet atau keperluan lainnya. Tapi saya harap para hadirin sekalian stay di dalam room karena sebentar kita akan masuk ke sesi selanjutnya, yaitu pembicara kita yang kedua, Mr. Anam. Terima kasih, tetap stay di dalam room ya teman-teman.
Foto Brili.
Oh iya betul, teman-teman, sebelum kita masuk ke dalam sesi istirahat, mungkin kita bisa foto bersama-sama. Teman-teman yang belum masih mematikan kamera, boleh menyalakan kameranya.
Oh iya, photo session. I almost forget.
This is Indonesian culture.
Yes. So who will take the photo? Pak Max?
Yes, Pak.
Okay. Yeah, remind us, Pak Max, you may give a signal, 1, 2, 3, or other signals, please.
Masih ada yang belum open cam?
Ladies and gentlemen, adik-adik sekalian, Bapak Ibu, silahkan dibuka kameranya just for a minute. It doesn't take long. Ya, kita akan sesi foto untuk berfoto bersama pembicara kita yang pertama, yaitu Pak Dr. Sugeng. Silahkan. Bapak, Ibu, adik-adik sekalian.
Oke, Pak, udah bisa dimulai?
Silakan. Itu berapa screen, Pak? Dikasih tahu aja, screen 1, 2.
Ini ada 12.
Oke, berarti semuanya kan nggak tahu itu di ini berapa. Jadi standby terus berarti ya, dengan senyuman yang manis ya. Please.
Ya baik. Ya, oke, Bapak Ibu dan juga para peserta dan mahasiswa, kita akan berfoto bersama. Ini ada 12 slide. Jadi kita nggak tahu di mana slide-nya, tetapi kita semua boleh dalam posisi yang terbaik untuk foto. Oke, saya akan mulai dari slide yang pertama. Saya hitung 1, 2, 3, cheese. Oke, masuk ke slide 2. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Oke, masuk ke slide 3. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Masuk ke slide 4. Oke, 1, 2, 3. Masuk ke slide 5. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Oke, masuk ke slide 6. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Sekali lagi, 1, 2, 3. Masuk ke slide 7. 1, 2, 3, cheese.
slide 8, 1, 2, 3, slide 9, 1, 2, 3, slide 10, 1, 2, dan slide 11, 1, 2, 3, dan yang terakhir slide 12, 1, 2, 3. Oke, sudah Bapak Ibu.
Baik, terima kasih banyak Pak Max, terima kasih banyak Pak Sugeng, Mr. Gun. Baik, para hadirin sekalian, kita akan ada beberapa menit ke depan untuk istirahat. Mungkin teman-teman bisa untuk mengambil minum dulu, tetapi tetap stay di dalam room ini karena kita akan ada sesi selanjutnya. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Pak Sugeng. See you again. You still muted, Pak Sugeng.
Dengan mengucapkan puji syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Kuasa, dengan ini saya meresmikan Fakultas Sastra menjadi Fakultas Sastra dan Bahasa Universitas Kristen Indonesia. Kiranya Tuhan memberkati kita semua. Viva UGI! UGI hebat! UGI hebat!
大家好，自我介绍一下，我的名字是林丽琴，是2019年武迪大学中文系的毕业生，现在在汤格朗武迪学校当一名中文老师。在这里呢，我想推荐大家到我们的武迪大学上学。为什么呢？因为我们的武迪大学有中文系，我们的老师有本地的，也有专门从中国来的，他们会教你们写汉字、认读、书法、武术、文化等等。还有机会去中国留学哦。回来之后还可以当老师，还可以当导游，还可以当翻译等等。
Baik, teman-teman hadirin sekalian, sebelum kita memasuki ke sesi selanjutnya, mungkin teman-teman boleh buka dulu kameranya, karena banyak banget nih yang belum buka kameranya, aku pengen lihat maksudnya hadirin kita ini seperti apa sih wajah-wajahnya teman-teman sekalian. Mungkin biar bapak-bapak pembicaranya bisa lebih semangat lagi nih untuk kasih kita presentasi selanjutnya. Baik, baru sedikit nih, boleh dong yang lain buka kamera juga, kayaknya udah pada pegel ya kan? Mungkin kita pemanasan sedikit supaya mungkin punggungnya udah pada pegel ya kan. Mungkin teman-teman boleh munduran sedikit dari mejanya. Kita pemanasan sebentar. Teman-teman boleh dibuka dulu kameranya nih. Banyak kan cuman backgroundnya doang. Ditinggal ya kan. Boleh teman-temannya. Kita pemanasan dulu. Halo. Ih, ramai banget teman-teman di sini. Boleh kita munduran sedikit dari laptopnya biar aku bisa lihat nih wajah-wajahnya sampai sedada, oke? Mungkin kita bisa pemanasan sedikit kali ya, teman-teman kan udah pada pegal nih. Mungkin kita bisa regangin dulu nih lehernya ke kiri. Oke. Mana coba wajah teman-teman yang kita boleh regangin dulu lehernya kiri kanan. Aku butuh teman-teman untuk membantu aku. Ikutin aku mungkin bisa. Angkat tangannya ke atas seperti ini biar nggak pegal, boleh? Sama-sama, oke. Udah pada ikutin, kan udah pada ngerasa pegel kali ya, biar lebih enakan, boleh tangannya ke atas. Kita hitung ya, mungkin 5 detik ya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oke, sekarang biar nggak pegel lehernya, kita taruh tangannya di sini, di telinga. Oke, kita hitung lagi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Biar nggak tenggelam sebelah. Satu lagi, sebelah sininya. Oke, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oke, biar nggak pegel, kita boleh mungkin tangannya taruh di sini. Biar ini mungkin dadanya lebih lega ya kan. Boleh, 5 detik. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oke, boleh dong kita tepuk tangan dulu buat kita semua di sini yang masih bertahan sampai sesi kedua. Terima kasih banyak teman-teman. Sampai kita menunggu, mungkin aku bisa nih kita lihat dulu. Ih, ramai banget nih teman-teman. Kayaknya nggak cuma dari sastra UKI doang ya, kalau aku bisa lihat-lihat. Di sini ada yang dari mana nih? Wih, seru banget. Ada yang dari bahasa Inggris. Berarti nggak cuma sastra doang nih teman-teman. Baik, sebelum kita masuk ke sesi selanjutnya, mungkin ada Mr. Gun. Hai, Mr. Gun. Aku mau menyambut dulu nih.
Brilliant, Danisha.
Mr. Gun masih kuat kan? Wih, ada yang dari Kediri. Dari Kediri is Java. Wih, mantap. Wow. Seru banget, teman-teman. Baik, Sir. Untuk masuk ke sesi selanjutnya, aku serahkan ke Mr. Gunawan.
Thank you so much. Wow, this is a very, very colorful invited speakers for today. And dan tak, yeah, ini this is very, very beneficial to you all guys, especially for the students, because our invited speakers, the second invited speakers for today will bring some interesting topic about how to become a professional translator. So translation is a profession. So before we continue to invite our second speaker, let me first read his biography to all of you as his prior introduction to all of us. Okay, yeah. Okay, this is Professor Dr. Anam Sutopo, SPDM Hum, and he was born in 8 October in 1969. He is a secretary of rector in Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. Wow, please give your virtual applause to him. And let me read first his background of education. Okay, he got his doctoral degree in Universitas 11 Maret in 2012, and he got master degree in 2001 from Universitas 11 Maret also, and then he got his bachelor degree from Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta in 1994. Let's go on to his background of work. Now he is a lecturer in Program Doktor Ilmu Pendidikan Pasca Sarjana from 2020 until now. And he is also a lecturer in Program Doktor Manajemen Pendidikan Islam IAIN Surakarta from 2019 until now. And he is also a lecturer for Magister Manajemen Pendidikan Sekolah Pasarjana UMS from 2012 until now. And he is also a lecturer for Magister Pengkajian Bahasa Pasca Sarjana UMS from 2012 until 2018. And he is also a lecturer for Magister Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris Pasca Sarjana UMS from 2018 until now. Wow, he is a lecturer for many universities. And let's go on to his experiences in entrepreneurship. Guys, I am very honored to tell you that he is also an entrepreneur. He opened a Rainbow English course Gatak Sukoharjo, and he also owns Toko Serba Ada Hafiza Sambi Boyolali, and he operates also a tour and travel agent named Hafiza Tours and Travel. And he also has bus pariwisata visa trans. Wow. And let's go on to, yes, it is related to the courses that he teaches. There are so many subjects that he teaches, but here it is related to interpreting, translation, research method, and language teaching, teaching English for young learners, pengembangan sekolah dasar, and so on. And yes, this is a very structural, means that he works also as pendamping ketua language center UMS from 1999 until 2001. He is also a secretary for LC UMS from 2001 until 26. He is also Kepala Komisi Bidang Pengajaran Bahasa Inggris from 2005 until 26. And there are so many experiences in working. And let's go on to, yes, he also has jabatan non-structural, means not in academics. He is Ketua Takmir Masjid Solihin, Wakil Ketua Quality Control. He is also Sekretaris Panitia Sertifikasi Dosen PTP Unmu Surakarta. And he is also Sekretaris Pelaksana Sertifikasi Guru Rayon 141 UMS. And he is also Ketua PLPG Sertifikasi Guru Rayon and others. He is, I can say that he is working as a chief in many companies or firms. Okay, he is also a reviewer for some journals, and he also attended or as a trainer for some training course. And yeah, this is the most important thing that I want to tell you, that he wrote some papers that indexed in Scopus. You know, Scopus is the highest ranked indexed journals in the world. Okay, some of his Scopus indexed paper is the first one in 2020. Translation as an interdisciplinary subject in humanity. And the second one, this is also Scopus indexed, the technique of subtitling in Pride and Prejudice film, a case of subtitling from English into Indonesian. And the third, his Scopus index paper is the influence of reading comprehension and vocabulary mastery toward translation skill. This is very related to translation. And the fourth Scopus paper that he wrote is entitled Lesson Study Validation, Model for Social and Natural Sciences Teacher Development in Implementation of National Curriculum in Muhammadiyah schools in Indonesia. And there are many other Scopus index papers that he wrote. I'm very grateful to have him as our invited speakers for today. And let me read for, yes, this is, he went to many countries for, yes, okay. Let me read one by one. He went to Shanghai, China in 2008 as a presenter for the international conference and translation hosted by the Federation of International Translator. And the second one, he went to Australia also as a presenter in 2009. And in the same year, 2009, he went to Australia, Sydney, for students exchange. And he also has gone to Mecca, Medina, for his Haji mission in 2012. And he went to Lund University, Sweden in June 2012. He's a participant for Advanced International Training Program. And he also went to Denmark, South Africa, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, Thailand, and what country else here? Wow. He is also, he was going to Japan in December 2017 as PTM leader academic visiting to universities. Wow. And he went also to Melbourne University in Australia in 2010. And yes, the last one, he went to Cairo, Masir in November 2019. And I myself express my gratitude to invite him now. And for the time of this webinar, Professor Dr. Anam Sutopo, SPD MHUM, the time is yours. Please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator.
My pleasure.
Very kind, man.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
You did not read my CV completely, just some of it. Okay, thank you, Ibu Galingging, Ibu Isniati. Thank you for the opportunity given to me, Ibu Mike Sarani, and also all participants coming to this English webinar. And also my special thanks to my friends in UKI also, Mr. Pelawi, because he is my friend when he was in Solo. But up to now, we are keeping the friendship. So just my special thanks to Mr. Okay, Mr. Moderator, let me start my presentations.
Assalamualaikum, bro.
Hai, Pelawi.
Assalamualaikum.
He is here now, Pak Pelawi.
Sugeng Rao.
Matur nuwun, Pak Bena. Bukan, mohon maaf.
We must be close friends.
Yeah, close friend. Thank you. And to Sylvie. How much time do you giving to me to give explanation?
Okay, you have 40 minutes to deliver your presentation, and then we'll have 20 minutes for a QA session.
Okay. Thank you. 40 minutes.
My pleasure.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, students, all lecturers, and also all participants in this webinar. Of course, let me start my presentation in line with my title, in line with translation studies and job career opportunities in the global era. Because I got this topic from the committee. Mas Johannes, thank you for giving me opportunity to share my experience and also my yeah, of course, my experience in line with translation studies that I followed up to know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, talking about translation studies, job career opportunities in the global era, let me give you such kind of the point that I want to talk about. Of course, the first I'd like to talk about the development of the translation studies. That as we know, the development of the translation studies improve from time to time in this globalization era, along with the rapid progress of science and technology. And of course, second one, let me try to deliver in line with the globalizations. I mean that globalization referred to the integration of goods, services, and also culture among the nation of the world. And also in this global era, you know that there are no boundaries of space and time between countries around the world in the global era, in the digital era, in the Industry 4.0 era. So the existence of cultural and linguistic differences between people among the countries become the main factors that hinders communication. So therefore, the role of the translator, the function of the translator, and the coming of the translator is indispensable. And the translation profession has very promising prospect as a career or as a business. We have many choices in the globalization era. Now let me start from talking a little in line with the translation studies. And we are saying thank you to Pak Sugeng that is delivered completely in detail the current studies in line with translation studies. Thank you, Pak Sugeng. Also, I got many things from you. Well, as we know that when we are talking translation, of course, we are talking about communication because translation means communications, conveying meaning to other people, giving something to other people from the media. I mean, from one language into another language. So we will be successful in translation. Of course, it means that we could conduct good communications, communicative communication, effective communication, persuasive communication, and so on. Because translation may reflect the communications. And the effect of the global era, the digital era, the IT era, the internet era, or the internet or translation are continuous, widespread and profound. And starting from automatic online translation services to the rise of the cross-border translations and the proliferations of the translation application for smartphone and also translation revolution is everywhere happening. So the implication for human languages, cultures, and society of this global era are radical and far-reaching. Well, language translation may reinforce equality in communications because we know that when we are talking about translation, of course, we should be at least involved two languages or more because having trouble, having barriers in using the language, difficulty in sending the message by using the language, of course, we need translations. And this one, I mean, in line with the communication in different people in different countries with difficult problem in the language use. The translation in the global era is also vital to read for students of modern languages, translation studies, cultural studies, and also applied linguistics. So I think the coming of the translation in the global era, I think it is needed. Now I know that, and I'm sure the curriculum of the English of art in Universitas Kristen Indonesia also consists of the translation. So therefore, in this nice opportunity, we are talking about general lecture. We are talking about webinar in line with the translations. Let me take out at least two quotations. First, from Safari and Ababan. Translation is made possible by an equivalence of thought that lies behind a different verbal expression. So we are underlining in line with an equivalence of thought that lies behind different verbal expressions. The equivalence of thought means that we try to find the equivalent, the similar things. Translation also consists of reproducing in the receptor languages the closest natural equivalence of the source language message, first in terms of meaning and the second in terms of style. At least it is spoken by neither. So meaning and style, meaning and form, message and style, message and form, sometimes nice to discuss. So exactly when we are talking about translation and we will try to reproduce in another language, which one is coming first, message or form? Form or message or both? So this is nice to discuss. So exactly when we are talking about translation studies, like Pak Sugeng explanation, that it means that we will face four branches. The first is translation itself, and we call this written translations because everything done in the written form. This is from reading to writing, and the ability of understanding the text will influence the result of the translations. So the skill of writing in the second language, of course, it will influence the accuracy, readability of the result of the translations. Of course, translation means identically with written translation. The second one is interpreting. Interpreting means oral translation. So in other side of the translation, we may have not only written, but also we may find oral activity, oral translation. So we call this interpreting. Interpreting means transferring the message from L1 into L2 in the oral form. So something different between translation and interpreting, it is in the form from written to oral. Of course, the message from detail to a general. Of course, using of the time and using of page and so on. So interpreting may stress on oral activity. The product is also oral, from usually from listening to speaking, although from written to oral also could be happen interpreting. Still discussing in line with the translation studies, we call this subtitling. Subtitling means audio visual translation. Usually we try to use the screen as the way how to produce, how to show the product of the translation. So we will try to consider the font, size of font, color of font, and also how much the appearance of the result of the translation. Subtitling may happen on the activity in line with audio visual translation, and also dubbing, like Pak Sugeng statement that dubbing is also one of the activity in line with the translation studies, because the process of dubbing, it is also involved the translation process. So between translation, interpreting, subtitling, and dubbing, those are such kind of the domain how we try to conduct the translation studies. How try to implement the skills in line with the language that we have, in line with the translation studies that we will try to practice in line with translation, interpreting, subtitling, or maybe dubbing. And I think it is simple for the beginners that when we are talking about translations or translation studies, of course, we try to meet first language or L1, we try to have second language or L2, maybe next language again, focusing on meaning, and the activity is transferring using media, whether the media in oral or written, or maybe using another, it is done by using machine, electronic or manual. So transferring meaning from L1 into L2, orally, writtenly, by using electronic or manual, that's become the complete definition of the translation. So when we are talking about translation, of course, we cannot deny the coming of first language, second language, transferring activity, or moving meaning, moving message from L1 into L2, from one language into another language, and using the media. I think the 5 components that I have stated here, it is also part of the translation studies. And still in line with the translation studies, that through language people are able to send and to receive message. I think that's the core of communication. We try to send and receive message. And also in translation, we try to transfer the message from L1 into L2, just trying to send the message. So through language, people are able to send and to receive the messages. It means that by language, human being can communicate with other to express their minds, their ideas, thoughts, and also desires. In fact, sometimes people deny that because of they can communicate well and they have no any trouble dealing with the use of the language. Of course, the coming of the translation is not important again. But as far as they have a serious problem with the language use in making communication or in making decision how to communicate well, of course, the coming of the translation is very important. Pak Sugeng has explained how many type of the machine translator and also the new current of the translation studies dealing with translation, localization, and translations. Language as communication instrument that is a channel to express intentions. So our feeling and enables us to establish relationship with other people. I think how to use the language in communication is not so far from how we try to implement translation. We try to use oral translation, written translation, but the core of this activity just sending, sending the message to other people. Okay, interpreting and translation are practiced under the weight of variety of conditions. So what kind of the conditions sometimes we need about this kind of 2 activities, both interpretations and also translation, both interpreting and translating. The 2 activities above are practiced under the weight of variety of conditions. In translations, the degree to success in communication depend on the sender and receiver's aims. So the goals, the objective between sender and receivers in line with the message given. Of course, in translation, that become the indicator how to measure the degree of success in communication, because communications in line across the language use among the people coming from different countries while having the barrier of the language. Of course, translation will be important and necessary. Receivers can see only the target language text and judge the clarity, linguistic acceptability, terminological accuracy, logical consistency of translations, and cannot directly check its fidelity. Of course, sometimes that in line with the translation studies, the receiver just get the product. They have no ability, they have no capability, they have no skill how to make checks and balance in line with in double quote quality control, whether the result of the translation is good or not. But as far as the result of the translation is nice to read, easy to understand, of course, that's good. That's a receiver's perspective. So in the middle of the development of the translation product, we need such kind of the monitoring and evaluations, how to check whether the result of the translation right or not. So we need sensor of translation or sensoric translation. Well, I think that's belonging to translation studies. I am sure Pak Sugeng had given you complete explanation in line with the translation in detail, and also especially for the new current in line with the theory of the translation, including practically because of his background of expression. Well, in line with the globalizations, I think as I have said before that globalization refers to integrations of good, services, and culture among the nations of the world. So the interconnection among people in the world, they may give a freedom how to make interactions, how to integrate their performance, their needs, and so on. So I think this kind of the cross nations relationship will try to have free market in double quote global or internationally. Advance in the telecommunication and transportation technologies accelerated globalization. As you know that at modern era, the development of the science and technology may lead us how to get something quickly. So in the telecommunication and also transportation technologies may accelerate the globalization. So we are easy to find something from the telecommunication tool, from handphone, from gadget, and from another tools dealing with the computer size with the internet access or internet connection. Transportation also something like this. How could we try to get the destinations as far as we have tried to enjoy our flight, so that's not difficult to find the destinations. And also, I think transportation technologies become better and better, become excellent in order to support our life. The internet has made all nations, next door neighbors, easy to make communication. Internet make us from one person to another person make closer and closer. In the globalization era also, if we see the development starting from globalization 1.0 up to 4.0, and now maybe we will try to live 4.0 and we will try to be in the 5.0, the development of information become improve. How could we try to use the technology in line with how to send the message, for example, from the ancients up to now. I mean, the growing is very, very rapidly growing. So Friedman unpacks the impact that the personal computer, internet, and also communication software have had on business, specifically the impact they have had on globalizations. So IT and globalization has a close relationship. So when we are talking about globalization, of course, we cannot avoid about IT. So IT become the main important factors in becoming the successful persons in our globalization. So the graphical user interface for personal computer and also the internet infrastructures, the open source of movement, mobile technologies, the introduction of software to automate and to integrate business processes, software that allows people to work together more easily, software that allows different software packages and databases to integrate with each other more easily. So at present time, when we want to get the data, we can get quickly. Yeah, we just need second, not hours. So because of the software, because of the internet connection, because of the mobile technology, because of the development of the high tech, so we may get our life become better and better and also become easy in all aspects of our life. So the advantages of the firm, the new era of globalization allows any business to become international. Internationally, we may develop our business with freedom. So we can conduct the business from our country to another countries and also we try to make connection. We may try to make correlation among all the different countries to have networking in line with business. And this is a global era. Everyone can use this opportunity to conduct business, to conduct communication, and also to conduct relationship. Advantages of the global firm: the ability to locate expertise and labor around the world, and also the ability to operate 24 hours a day, and also a large market for their product. So the competitions in line with how to manage our company, how to have a good marketing system, how to sell the product easily using online, offline, or maybe using another media. That's, I think, the advantages of this global firm. But we have also challenges in the global era. In this global era, of course, some challenges that may exist. First is infrastructure differences. We may take out an example of our country, where our country become the serious differences in line with infrastructures, because from Jakarta, Papua, Maluku, maybe Semarang, or maybe Medan, and another cities, even villages, they have different infrastructure. So in globalization, infrastructure differences also become one of the challenges in the global era. And then labor laws and regulations. We know that every time we may get news in line with labor laws, or maybe in line with the rules of the game or regulations, constitutions, there are some people protest in line with the regulations, because in this global era, one of the challenges is in line also with the regulations. Pak Sugeng said that life is making decisions, and everyone are decision maker, including you all. You all are decision maker for your own life. And also in this global era, we may try to divide, we may fight to make decisions in line with our life, in line with our activity, and also in line with the development of the science and technology. Legal restrictions also become one of the challenges in the global era, because the legal restrictions become the main important thing. Language, custom, and preferences also become the challenges in the global era, especially when we have different habits, we have different traditions, we have different languages used, we have different custom, we have different preferences. Of course, the differences among them, including language, custom, and also preference, become the challenges in the global era. International shipping, it is also become one of the challenges in the global era, even the cultural differences. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that cultural differences among people coming from different countries may have serious problem. Sometimes we have the same word, sometimes we have the same habit, but different meaning. Because one habit in one area may have different meaning, one habit in another area. And when we are talking about language and culture, it is like coin. That language and culture cannot be separated, because language and culture is like coin, one side and another side. So if the language also become one of the challenges in the global era, of course, the cultural differences become the serious problem also, the serious challenge also in the global era. So cultural differences may become one thing that should be solved. Well, this is in line with the globalization era. So we have tried to overcome, to elaborate in line with translation studies, and also a little in line with the global era. So the next question is, how is the role of the translation in global era? How we try to give special function of the translation in the global era, because we are now living in the global era, free market, digital era. We have such kind of the 4.0 technologies and so on. Well, participants, globalization is a phenomenon that has defied all physical barriers, borders, and also geographical divisions. So, because globalization as a phenomenon that that has denied all physical barriers, border, and geographical division, that's become the important thing. It has in fact created cross-cultural interactions. So cross-cultural interaction may have effect in line with human behavior, human new culture, and so on. Of course, creating a cross-cultural interaction that has given rise a global culture that draws its common ground from diversity of cultures. Participants, when we are in the certain locations, of course we may find a certain culture also, but when we have moved from one place to another places, of course we try to find diversity of the cultures, and this diversity of the cultures may become the problem in globalization. The prime reason for this has been rapid and unchecked advancement in telecommunications, media, and transportation services. Fields like IT have diminished the hindrances of time and space. So I think in the globalization era, in this digital era, in this IT era, of course, the prime reason that have been rapid and advancement of telecommunication, media, and transportation. So the 3 point media, transportations, and telecommunication become as the indicator of the development of the countries in line with the globalization time, globalization pace, globalization period. As a result of this development, millions of people are now traveling to other countries and resetting there for employment or business activities. So moving people from one country to another countries will have the effect that because of the traveling done by them, and also because of their interest in one or another countries, they will try to make settle in one or few countries, and it is an employment and business activities. So, however, there has always been a clash of cultures and also language barrier to get over before one can properly reap the fruit of globalization. Because of the difference of culture and language, that's become serious problem. How they interact one to another. Of course, by having this kind of the space in line with the gap of the language use and also the culture, it means the translation will be one of the alternative solutions. So this is where the translation industry has stepped into bridge and the gaps and facilitate a smooth flow of the journey of globalization. So translation industry may develop from time to time to overcome, and also as the one of the solutions in this globalization relationship, as the journey of globalizations of our activity or for traveling across the countries. Well, so the first and foremost requirement of a person crossing boundaries for employment and business is proper documentations of important personal papers such as educational testimonials, degrees, experience letter, job certificate, identification papers, and travel documents. Of course, I think these requirements of persons crossing boundaries for employment or business, that's become important because proper documentation of important personnel needed, both in line with educational testimonials, in line with travel documents, in line with job certificates, in line with the identification paper, and also the experience of labor. And I think that's become the main point also. So all of the document may only be available in language that is not understood in the destinations of one's desire because of the different the language used among people coming from one country to another countries. And of course the document usually is written in the source language perspective, in the original language, in the first language, and so on. And of course sometimes we do not understand the result of the meaning of the documents, the content of the documents. Like maybe the document is written in Arabic or in Chinese and in Spanish. Sometimes if we have no competence in line with those languages, we will get serious problem. So it means that that's not understood by people in the destinations. So of course it needs the solution. Translation, of course. Authentic and reliable translation of these documents are as the prerequisite to board the wings of globalization, because I think the windows of the interaction in this globalization, sometimes we could try to see some documents in line with the translation helps. Furthermore, to start a new life in a new place properly, a person must be aware of indigenous law, rules, and regulation. May it be for the purpose of education, or maybe business or employment. Of course, the starting of the new life while we're having those kind of the complete document become important, and the laws may be written in a language that is not understood properly by the person concerned. So the difference understanding between from one language into another language, the perspective of laws, of course it will be serious, that must be solved. Of course, translation. So specialist translation of these laws become imperative in such cases to get a head start on one's activities. So once more, the specialist translation, sworn translation, or professional translator will try to become one of the alternative of these laws become imperative in such cases to get the head start on one's activities. Translations has also facilitated work functions in a highly globalized and diverse working place. Translation may show us how it facilitates the work function in highly globalized and also diverse working places. As we know that when we have a different tradition, different habit, in a different with different people, of course we need translation, and translation could become facilitation. So translation can facilitate in line with the work function of the highly globalized and also diverse working places. Employees need to communicate with each other on specialist forms, reports, and official correspondence paper. Employees need to communicate with other people. So as we know that some employer may have many employees, and the employees need to communicate with each other on specialist form. Sometimes also in line with the report and also official correspondence paper. And if they have problem in line with this one, of course, the coming of the translation become the solution, and could become in this globalization era. So the role of the translation in the globalization era cannot be avoided. It is a must. So as a trustworthy and correct translations can help to get the proper message through and establishes a dependable system of office correspondence in culturally and linguistically diverse workplace. So I think that's important. Furthermore, to start a new life with a new purpose, a person must be aware of the rules and regulation, may be for the purpose of education or maybe just business or employment. So the laws may be written in a language that is not understood properly by the person concerned that I have said before. So in a view of the foregoing, the translation industry has in fact facilitated and nurtured the globalization, thereby removing the impediment likely to occur in a culturally diverse world. So it has acted like a catalyst as far as intercultural communication is concerned. So intercultural communication is concerned, we must underline this. Life can never function properly without a good understanding and flow of informations. Sometimes we may get full informations, or we can get the flow information, and also having an excellent understanding, we need the coming or the help of translator. So good translations may create a connected and unified word that takes pride a perfect communication system. In the globalization era, in this digital era, in this IT era, the perfect of communication system can be supported by the translation activity, because not everyone can speak in all languages. So the limitation of the persons and also the incapability of persons may lead how to ask the translator. So good translations create a connected and unified word that takes pride in a perfect communication system. Finally, let's deliver some opportunities in line with the job career. As we know that when we have tried to find, to discuss the translation studies, because I am sure you are, as the students of university, in the language and art, of course, you have opportunity how to discuss more, how to discuss in detail in line with all the subject. And some of them, I think, are in line with translation studies. And we are now in the global era. We are in the development of the millennium era. So after understanding the role of the translations in the global era, in the digital era, in the IT era, in the internet era, we try to discuss, to find something that make us as the additional knowledge in line with opportunities for job career by having competence on translations. So translator, I think, as profession, yes, in fact, in our country, we have a rule in 2010. Our president has tried to sign such kind of the constitutions in line with the translator as professions. So translator is a profession that translates original document from one language into another languages while maintaining the authenticity of the content of the translated documents. I think translator become professions has been understood by many people, including all students. We know HPI, how HPI give an excellent contribution in our country dealing with the professions of the translator. They have activities, and they have organization, and they have contributions in developing of the translation or the translator have as a professional profession. Maybe this one profession is still foreign to ears because around you there is still rarely news about a translator. Just some of people, but mostly, in fact, students of English and art, of course, you have understood well in line with the translator or translations or translation studies. A translator not only changes text and the language to another language, but also a translator conveys information with the appropriate choice of word, because we may understood that when we are talking about meaning, there are so many kind of type of meaning. Could be a semantic meaning, pragmatic meaning, could be explicit meaning, could be implicit meaning. We have denotative, connotative, and we have situational meaning. We have also context meaning, and also in line with depend on the meaning that we try to see from the theory of the semantic, pragmatic, communicative, or so on. I think educational background, I think that's not important for the translator, although the average applicants usually graduated from sarjana or S1, and it's possible, but also possible that graduate of SMK or SMA or postgraduate, master, doctors to take part in this kind of professions, because the main point is not the educational background but the competence that should be owned by the translator. So if you want to work as translator, as the interpreter, as the subtitling practitioner, of course you must master of the knowledge that you need. I think talking about salary, that's only estimations.
Interruption, Pak Anam.
Yeah.
Okay, you still have 3 minutes to go. Thank you.
5 minutes?
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Or 5 minutes.
Okay. It is in line with the skill or competence, language competence, cultural competence, and then knowledge competence. Will try to lead the translator to do their job. And the kind of job could be permanent and freelance, online and offline, maybe full-time or part-time, maybe contract based, or maybe based on an agreement. Maybe some of the example, civil servants as a translator or interpreter, usually working for government, and then working at the state secretariat office in Jakarta, or maybe all the governor's offices, working also district offices. Usually the civil servant's job that's in line with the legal document, and they have a function positions because they have utama, kepala, and also muda. Academic researchers also one of the alternative job that you may get if you have the competence of the translations. Usually the researchers focus on the translation studies, like lecturers in UKI, or maybe some other lecturers in universities. Research and development interest in collaboration with lecturers using university lab or other equipments. Could be multi-years. Teachers or tutors focus on the translation studies also, both in the written or oral activities, but the main core is teaching activity, daily teaching. Could be in school, training centers, or organization, and specialist media, method, or material using in this teaching learning process. Could be as the permanent or part-timer tutor or teachers. Another job could be professional translator, usually in line with the written translation activities, sworn translation, for example, legal and formal company, usually based on the contract, and also could be in the interdisciplinary, and also could be personal or team. Another professions or another job opportunities like professional interpreter. This job is in line oral translation activity, formal, non-formal meeting, timing duration based usually. All could be an interdisciplinary, but could be done in a team, can be personal or company because individual or team. Professional subtitler, subtitling practitioner. It is in line with translation study space, audio-visual translation, written translation product, using media, video product base. Usually, it is done with a teamwork. If you do not like that, you may try to become dubbing practitioners. Dubbing practitioners could be dubber or translation studies based, of course, in short film or cartoon, could be in collaboration with the dubbers, of course, using a certain applications or machine as the system, how to use and how to implement the dubbing process. Usually, it is done also with a teamwork. Web content translator, it is in line with the web content base, all material free. It is in collaboration with content team, usually with web content owner, web owner could be done personal or team, and also in the written or oral product because could be in video. Online translator, it is in line with written translation activities using online system or media as the equipment. Live activity could be recorded also no problem, but usually live. Direct contact with the clients and then quick and standardized and also personals or team. Freelance translator, it could be done with written translation activities, usually product based and also based on pricing list, although it is negotiable and the material could be various contract, letter, legal document, leaflet, and another material could be book, personal activities, and sometimes part-timer. Freelance interpreter could be done in the oral activities, oral translation activities, and then based on the contract, timing, durations, and also formal and informal meeting, business, academic, it is also personal or team. Of course, because freelance, it is done as a part-timer worker. Academic researchers, yes, I have done this, and then translator, translation editor, usually it is in the translation company, because this job is dealing with translation work, working for a publishing company, both in academic or non-academic books, novels, short stories, and another printed material, and also based on translation product, and functioning as quality control unit. And then programmer development, so it must be collaborated with the IT team. Usually it is conducted with the machine translator or electronic dictionary, in line with the research result, marketable, simple but useful. But usually, if you have the competence of the translation studies, you can make collaboration with IT team. YouTuber, as you know that YouTuber become one of the alternative in this global era. All people may try to be a successful YouTuber by making video content. It is in line with video content maker with the translation studies, of course. Short, unique, focus. Could be formal and also maybe, of course, regular updates. News or media translator, usually it is in line with the journalist. Of course, you must make collaboration with the journalist. Working in media publisher could be written or product based on the media, and also could be permanent or freelance. Thank you, Mas Gunawan. That's all, Mas Tambun Saribu. I think 2 minutes more, less of than 3 minutes.
Thank you so much, Professor Anam, for this bringing us a worthy material, especially to our students who are in this Zoom right now, because this is the future. And they have to know English very well, including translation. All right, this is a precious time for you, ladies and gentlemen. This is the time for you to ask Mr. Anam. And we are waiting for your question via chat box, or you can use the raising hand tool so that maybe MC could you help me please to see the participant who are raising hands, and I'll check the chat box. All right, this is a question. The first question is from which just now. Oh, yeah. This is from Esther Nababan. This is to Pak Sugeng. Hello, Sir Sugeng. I'm Esther. I'd like to ask you about translation. In the past, I did my internship before attend university as local guide in Museum Jakarta for Foreigner. I was good at translate someone speak English into Indonesia, but my grammar is not good enough to translate the text. Is there any suggestion to keep learning translations to translate something? Because at the same time, I'm not confident with grammar, grammar is really important. Thanks in advance. Yeah, you can answer directly, Pak Sugeng. Pak Anam, sorry. I still remember Pak Sugeng's name. Pak Anam, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mas Gunawan. I think nice questions. Local guide in Jakarta, having a nice activities in line with traveling, giving explanation to tourists, yeah, from time to time. I think that's a daily activity. I'm sure Ernest Nababan has a competence in dealing with the language use. Unfortunately, in the introspection, yeah, in the what I mean, in the reflections, they feel that the grammar is not good, having limited understanding in line with grammar. Yeah, how to be a good translator or could be a good translator. The question is, if you like the oral activities, I think it's better for you to try, based on your experience, to be an interpreter, because oral translator or oral translation is also a closer activity in line with the guiding. Usually, guide or guiding activity is not so far from, interpreting activity. Or as far as you have mastered the material in line with tourism, for example, I am sure you can become a good interpreter in tourism. For example, in training for tourism, or in line with the upgrading in line with tourism. Maybe you have special guests coming from Japan or Korea that needs your help to be the interpreter. Maybe you could do that, because in the oral activity, usually, sometimes we can use our competence, not grammar minded, but also meaning minded. As far as we can catch the meaning, of course, we may come re-explain to different language. If you want to try to be a good translator, because you have an activities in line with the guiding oral activities, I think you have problem dealing with the grammar, because written text and also oral text something different. How to understand the written text? We need the competence of syntax, of rule of the game, or grammar, in order we may get the meaning completely. If you want to try to improve yourself, how to improve your syntax mastery, your grammar understanding, I think that's no problem. You could do it also. But my suggestion is, that's better for you to improve your skills in line with the oral activities, because you have an experience to be guide, and this is your daily activity for guiding, and oral activities you have done with guiding technique. So I think how to switch into interpreter, it will be easier. Although that depends on the material that you want to interpret, but it is only one of the solutions. And if you want to be try to be a good translator, of course you must improve your understanding, reading as many as possible written text in order you may get, yeah, I mean, because how to understand the written text, usually we need, the grammar perspective, or the I mean the syntax mastering. I think that's all, Mas Gunawan. Simple, but just
Thank
suggestion.
you. Thank you so much. Esther, does it satisfy your question? Okay, you may answer, you respond by chat box. We will have another question from Nisrina Hoirunisa. Let me read it for you, Pak Anam. Hello, sir. I'd like to ask, how do we overcome cultural differences in translating something, for example, novels, comics, etc., that contain the culture of the country, so that we can convey the author's message correctly? Do you have any tips for it? Thank you in advance.
Yeah. Thank you, Mas Gunawan. I think that's a nice question, in line with cultural, the culture, because the different culture, of course, as I have stated many times, that we can avoid culture and language, between language and culture, like coin. I think we all agree, because we have one understanding in line with languages. So how to improve or how to solve the problem in line with the different cultures understanding? Yeah, I think it is such kind of a must that we have different cultures among of coming from different countries. Of course, they have different cultures, and to be a good interpreter or translators, of course, you should understand the cultural point of view, because when we are trying to translate the text, both written and oral, of course, it is influenced by the cultures. As we know that when we try to see translations, evaluations, translation assessment, at least we have 3 points: accuracy, acceptability, and also readability. I am sure in line with accuracy, we have one commitment that accuracy become the main point. Accuracy focusing on message. So of course, accuracy become the main point. And then readability, that's depend on the language use or norms of the language, or rule of the game, result of the translation, whether easy to read or not, understand to read or not. But one thing that is difficult is acceptability. Acceptability is in line with cultures, in line with habit. So when traditions in one country, maybe it could be different meaning from another countries. So for example, you may use such kind of the uniform in your own family, or in your own village, or in your own country. That's nice, because you have traditions, you have culture that's common in your own village, that's common in your own community. But if you move to another community, to another country, to another society, of course, that could be different. For example, especially uniforms. Yeah, one person may have perception in line with certain uniforms, in line with cultures. Oh, that's nice. That's traditional, primitive. That's good, unique perspective from the tourism, or perspective from the sociology, ethnography. That's nice, good. But when we try to implement, when we try to see from or with a different perspective from different community, oh, that's not good, that's not life, that's dangerous, that's and so on. So cultural understanding is important. Intercultural understanding important. How to start improving your competence, your skills in line with translations. I think by having understanding from one culture to another culture, from one habit to another habit, it will try to give us a good tolerations. That if we want to translate into L2 with different culture, of course we will try to focus on the second language culture. And I think if we try to discuss with the perspective of the theory, it will become in line with method of translations and intercultural communications or cross-cultural understanding become one main point how we can improve our translation skills. I think that's my response, Mas Gunawan. I cannot make her satisfied.
We do thank you. That's a very clear information. I bet, I guarantee that several students here understand what you are conveying just now. Because as you said, the translation is in all fields of work.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned just now some younger students now likes to be YouTuber, and then they want to work in a government office, and both work fields that they tend to, they are they like so much for now on. And thank you so much for your clear explanation. And I want to invite the other participants to ask, please. We have still 10 minutes to go. So use this precious time. So can I
Yes. I'd like to underline that if you have competence in translation studies, if you have a good, excellent skills in translation, I think no worry about job, because global era. This is online era. We can work alone. We can work in team. We can work with the government, because government has regulations how to be civil servants, and this are signed by the presidents. You can be interpreters and governors. You can become the interpreters and district head, or even you may done yourself as a part-timer working at home with your own gadget, with your own computer to be a professional translator. I think the key point is just try to improve your translation skills. Try to improve your mastery of the language in L1 and L2, and also, of course, try to understand some theories in line with the translation. I think that's some point that I would like to underline from your comment, Mas Gunawan. Yeah.
Oh, that's very clear explanation about the beneficial of translation field. Thank you so much, Pak Adam. Yeah. And we are very pleased to have you as our both, the second advice speaker for today, because you had delivered much thing, especially to all of the students, especially in this webinar for today. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for all your participation and cooperation in our translation prospect on various fields work in this globalization era, presented by Faculty and Languages English Literature Study Program, Universitas Kristen Indonesia. And again, we are very thankful, and we thank you, Professor Dr. Anam Sutopo and Bapak Dr. Sugeng Suaryanto. Ladies and gentlemen, you may continue agenda based on your own schedule for today and the time I give to Master of Ceremony. Please, Danisha.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gun. Thank you so much, Mr. Anam. I think before we end this session, maybe we can take a picture together, sir?
Yes. Of
Okay.
course. This is the session for taking photo with Pak Anam.
Yeah, wait, I guess
Pak Anam.
Pak Max, can you help me to take the picture? Pak Max masih di mute.
Ya,
Oke.
oke. Tunggu bentar.
How many slides,
Teman-teman
sir, Pak Max?
Ada 9 slide, Pak.
It's less than before, ya?
Oke, Mas. Ada beberapa yang masih belum open cam.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please, this is the last session for us. Please, I invite you to show your beautiful face, your handsome face, and we will take a photo session for today. Please. Silakan, Pak.
Oke, Bapak Ibu dan juga para mahasiswa peserta webinar pada sore hari ini, kita akan berfoto bersama. Ini ada 9 slide. Kita tidak tahu di mana 9 slide ini, tetapi Bapak Ibu dan juga para peserta bisa tetap tersenyum gitu sambil difoto. Oke, saya akan mulai dari slide yang pertama. Saya hitung 1, 2, 3, cheese. Oke, masuk ke slide 2. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Oke, slide ketiga. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Oke, kita masuk slide 4. 1, 2, 3.
Keep smile.
Oke, kita masuk ke slide 5. Oke, 1, 2, 3. Masuk ke slide 6. 1, 2, 3. Masuk ke slide 7. 1, 2, 3. Masuk ke slide 8. 1, 2, 3. Dan yang terakhir slide ke-9. 1, 2, 3. Oke.
Baik,
Sudah,
terima
Pak.
kasih banyak Pak Max. Baik,
Ya.
terima kasih banyak Pak Anam, Mr. Good.
Pak Anam, thank you so much.
Welcome, Mas Gunawan.
Thank you so much, Pak Anam. Thank you so much for all speakers, Pak Anam dan Pak Sugeng, and all participants that already attend today's webinar. Dan untuk sertifikat dari webinar ini akan dikirimkan kepada email yang sudah para hadirin daftarkan di dalam link pendaftaran dan juga link presensi. And to close this webinar, I would like to invite Mr. Johannes to lead us in prayer. Mr. Johannes? Okay, Mr. Joe, the time is yours.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us pray based on each faith, and I'm about to pray based on Christian faith. Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, thank you for your blessing that we could follow this webinar well. Please make this webinar useful for all of us. Please bless all of us, the speakers, the committee, the lecturers, the students who participate in this webinar. Thank you, Father. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Joe. Thank you so much, everyone. See you in another event. Good afternoon. I'm Brilliant Danisha. I'm signing out.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Nanti kita hubungi. We will contact you soon as possible.
Oke.
Pak Anam, thank you very much, Pak Anam.
Thank you very much.
Oh, mohon maaf Bu kekurangannya Bu Yus.
Thank you very much, Pak Anam.
Kalau ke Solo mampir WMS Bu Yus.
Ya, iya Pak, pastinya Pak.
Matur nuwun berat, Mas.
Iya Pak.
Bapak Ben.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Sampai ketemu, kami mohon izin untuk leave.
Sampai ketemu.
Thank you,
Pak Anam.
Yang bagus moderatornya Bu Yus, luar biasa.
Ya, semangat ya Pak ya.
Alhamdulillah.
Pak Anam bisa aja.
Super.
Super ya. Oke, Bapak-bapak panitia,
Thank you, Bu.
terima kasih untuk kerja keras kita hari ini.
Thank you, sir.
Seperti sejauh ini kita
Thank you,
lihat
sir.
lancar
Thank you,
ya.
sir.
Sejauh ini lancar semua ya. Terima kasih atas partisipasinya juga mahasiswa seluruhnya. Terima kasih. Terima kasih Pak Max, Pak Gun,
Kasih
Pak
Bu
Jo,
Yus. Kasih Pak
Ya.
Gun.
Ika.
Bapak Ibu semua makasih ya. Pak Gun mantap, Pak Gun mantap.
Ya, oke, kita bisa bubar ya.
Oke. Ya, Pak Max izin live ya.
Ya.
Nah, kita bisa live ya. Nanti yang lain kita bicarakan lewat chat saja ya.
Oke. Ya.
Oke.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senang sekali ya hari ini saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih untuk rektor, jajaran pimpinan UKI, dosen-dosen, ketua-ketua prodi, dan terutama mahasiswa-mahasiswinya yang luar biasa. Tepuk tangan dong. Nah, Steven mau nyanyi satu lagu nih. Kalau kalian tahu lagunya, boleh nyanyi sama-sama ya.